needs to change his technique because the length of his stride is all wrong. But how many of us knew having a proper running stride was so important? Joining us now, personal trainer Daniel Martin. I think those pictures are, and Chris is back. Because you were criticising his stride earlier, weren't you?
I wasn't criticising. I would not criticise the Prime Minister, of course, in any shape or form. But I was just reading the details about his running stride, and more and more you watch it, the more you realise he's obviously one, not a natural long distance runner, and two, that there is possible potential. I mean, you see them in the park, they're running around, and you see the way some people stomp, and you can hear them running into the ground, and others just float by you, and you think, well, one's a long distance runner, and the other one is definitely not. That's the only thing I picked up.
Daniel Martin, that's Chris's professional
Yeah.
approach to running style.
It's sort of, he is on the right lines. Yeah, with David Cameron's running style, it's very, as you can see, it's quite very narrow. A lot of experts would say. By having that, he's having a lot more energy just used up with running, and with the because he's running at such a narrow pace. When he does with someone who with a nice wide strength,
Okay, could he get his leg further extended?
as you can see, that the stress he's putting on his knees now with his wide strength. Someone walking past him would hear slap, 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 and the implications of that, he'll be the tendonitis on his knees. He'll be having a lot of stress there on his lower calf muscles as well, his ankles.
Can we have a look? Can we have another look at the other clip we've got of him running with the other group? Now,
I think that was in Afghanistan, wasn't it, when he was running?
Now, I'm watching that. Aren't they all kind of doing the same thing with their stride?
But as you can see, David Cameron's upper body as well, it looks quite stressed. So by being quite stressed, he's not obviously breathing correctly, and that will have an implication in itself.
Okay, so for any of us who are thinking, you know, thank goodness he's out running and keeping fit, unlike some of us sitting on a sofa not doing very much at all, what should we be doing when we get out there?
But when you get out there, the worst thing is make sure your footwear's correct. You must have a good shoe. A good shoe would be something, you know, obviously bends well, and when you're wearing it, you feel comfortable. It's not too big, not too small. And you're looking to do a wider stride then. You're looking to bend your knees so you're not putting any stress on your knees. Yourself, are you a good runner like this?
No, not at all. I was just the only other thing I was going to say was someone mentioned his toes. Because normally when we run quite. No, we don't actually think. Well, one, I'm actually just thinking, breathe, Chris, breathe, breathe. But a lot of people saying that he actually had his toes pointing up.
Yeah.
Therefore, he was going to be landing on his heels a bit more than spreading the weight, which is something that people really should think about, because there's so many people. I know your partner, when he did the marathon, had troubles with his knees.
Yes.
It might be actually the way he's putting his feet down. Is that right?
Possibly. But because of his narrower stride, he's having to position it with the heel, which is why his feet are pointing up. And by doing that, obviously, the shock of the heel going right up through the calf muscle into the knees.
One of the things that strikes me is that it's unfortunate in a way. It's like all the world leaders now, have to jog. We've seen Nicolas Sarkozy. There was a big thing about him jogging, wasn't there? And George Bush jogged.
Was it a trend set by Bill Clinton?
But now, it's on top of being able to run your country, apparently one of the requisites is that you have to be able to jog properly.
You do.
Can you imagine at a press conference, I know your issues on nuclear power, but you're an awful runner.
But it is extraordinary. I mean, years ago, no one would have dreamt of thinking of a Prime Minister in relation to something like this. I suppose it's a sign of the times, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's good just to see that someone's actually taken time to have exercise. You see the importance of exercise in your daily lifestyle is so important. A lot of people underestimate how much it actually influences what you do in life.
Well, I wonder whether if you have someone like the leader of your country running and exercising so publicly, does it have an impact? I mean, do they act literally as a sort of role model in that way?
Yeah, definitely, because if you see someone who's a biggest figure as David Cameron, with him running and showing a good example that exercise, you know, is part of my lifestyle, it should be part of your lifestyle. Then it's a good role model to show the people that aren't exercising, thinking about doing exercise and thinking, you know, I should get out there, I should start exercising.
I quite like the idea of seeing a clip of him completely
Knackered.
you know what I mean? Like most people would be.
Yeah.
I think people would empathise with that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Let's have a bullet point, things that you should think about. For example, if we're going to go out run in the park at some stage, what should we think about? Should we think about the line we run, lengthening our stride, and the impact? What's the simple?
Simple way to start, just start from the bottom up, basically. So you're looking at the floor, you're looking at what you're running on. You don't be running on you know, bad terrain. You want to have good footwear. You got to make sure you have good posture when you're running. And one of the most important things as well is your breathing technique. You don't want to be breathing in and out really, really quickly. You want to be controlling your breath, because if you're breathing out really, really quickly, you find that you're making it 10 times harder for yourself and you won't be able to go the distance you want to go. But just by controlling your breathing, you find that you'll be able to go a much longer distance than what you've been able to do beforehand.
There we go. Now we know.
In the
No
interest
excuses.
of political balance, shouldn't we have analysed the running
All
styles of
party
all
leaders.
the party leaders? Oh well, there we go. That's for another morning. Thanks very much,
Thanks,
Nice.
Chris.
Chris, thanks for coming back. John